Good morning. So, those of you who watched Silver Screen video this morning of my first playthrough of Dell's little 3-page game about the movie business, I was so inspired that I decided to make a Big Country Silver Screen add-on. It's a 28-page free edition. So, Dell's original ebook on Lulu's only $1.99, I think. But I wanted to make a add-on for this. So this should allow one to step in and create an entire movie business universe and conduct games almost completely with dice. So let me show you. So in Dell's game, you're either playing the movie studio head or the director. You make some simple random rolls to determine the names of your movies and the names of your actors, and you roll to see how those do, and then you move on to see if you retain your career. This is assuming that you're going to create the entire cinema business, and therefore you're going to be playing for all the movie studios to generate a cinema business to see which movie studios are the best at the business. So let's take a look at this 28-page doc. Most of the pages are names, fictional names of people. So you have 1,000 fictional names that I took off of AI generated things. So this walks you through a game sequence, what you're supposed to do in the game, the film studios, how they're rated. So you name your studio, you roll to see what the brand is of your studio. All studios start out with 0 reputation. You roll to see how much capital you have to start when you make you make your studios. I recommend you start with 5 to 10 studios in your universe. And all those studios are going to make 2 films a year. So you're going to first make all your studios by generating their name, their brand, their reputation, their capital, and their genre specialty. And those are 1d6 rolls for these here. Each studio employs 2 writers, 2 directors, 2 actors, 2 actresses. These are randomly created. You give them random name. So you'll name your writers and you roll to see what kind of quality they are, etc. So this is not part of, you will need Silver Screen to play out the game, but this, all of this is defined in here, but you'll need Silver Screen to actually play out how the films do, right? Okay. And then there's a filmmaking process, right? So you're going to first roll to see who the writer is. Now, what I mean by roll is you either select the writer you want on the film, or you can randomly roll to see which of the studio's 2 writers is assigned to a film. Then you're going to roll for the synopsis, and then you'll roll for the brand/genre before you select your director, your actress, and your actor. And then you're going to name the film from a list of 100 random film names that's included in this book. Then you can write a simple synopsis. This is where you get to generate, 1 or 2 sentence explanation of the game, of the film, that is not graded. This is just where you get to be inspired by what you've written. So if you wrote the synopsis, you wrote the brand, the genre, then those 3 things, those random things, you then write a synopsis of, which doesn't affect play, right? But the writer, the director, and the actor and actress, their ratings affect the actual box office roll, which is in Silver Screen. You adjust based on brand, genre, writer, director, actors. What I mean by that is if you roll up a film that's in the brand that your studio's good at, that's a +1. If it's also the genre that your studio's good at, it's a +1. So if when you randomly roll up the type of film it is, and you'll see first you select you create your players for all your studios. And when you go to make a film, you select your writer, and then you roll a d6 to see what the synopsis of the film is. It is either there's only 6 stories according to basically Shakespeare to literature, and they're just told over and over and over in our history. And so those are rags to riches, tragedy to riches. So you roll to see what kind of film it is. Is it a rise-fall film? Is it a rise-fall film? Okay. Then you're going to roll to see what brand it falls under. It's a drama, let's say. And let's say it's a film noir. So it'd be a film noir drama that is a rise. Somebody's going to rise in a film noir, right? Then you're going to write a simple synopsis. That's up to you. You don't have to write a synopsis, but I like that idea of now how do I take this random elements and write like a 1-sentence synopsis of the film? Okay, then you're going to tally all of the ratings of the players involved. So let's say my writer is a -2. Let's say my actors are +1 and +1, so that's even. Let's say my director's a 0 even. So I have no modifier for this film on the silver screen box office roll. Okay, so, but let's say it falls under my brand. That's a +1. So I got a +1 roll to that box office roll. So 1d6 roll. Let's say I roll a 3 with a +1 brand. That's a 4. It is a hit, right? So it needs to be a normal hit. And then I would adjust my capital, my reputation, and of course I would track the quality of the players involved would all get a rating. A career points would be tallied for the end of season awards show, right? Okay. So here's an example of what Central City Pictures looks like. Their brand is war, so any movie they make that falls under war would give them a +1. Any genre that falls under romance would give them a +1. Their reputation is currently 0, and they have $6 million in capital. And let's say my first film, remember it requires a writer, a director, an actress. So it's going to require 4 players. I only have $6 million for my first film. So I'm gonna assign my writer Benny Jones. That's going to save me $1 million. He's a -1. It's going to save me money, but it's going to hurt my overall film grade, right? So it's a -1, but I don't have to spend any extra money. But I'm gonna assign Gary Andrews, and so far I've spent no money on this film. However, it's going to star James Harlow, that's 1, and it's going to star Harriet Stillwell, -1. So as it is, this debut film cost me no money, right? But the score of that film would add up to a 0. And I'd roll that box office with no modifiers, right? So let's say I roll a 5 and it's a hit, and I get that capital and I get that reputation bonus. So I'd add that capital here and I'd add my reputation. And everybody involved in that film would also get a points boost, not to these raw ratings, just to their career. So you're going to want to track their career points, which only tells you how profitable those people have been in their career. Okay. Also, we have guest stars and co-stars, so you can borrow an actor, director, or writer from any other studio in the universe. However, their rating is used to modify the box office. So let's say I don't have the money and I need to make this a hit, and I want to have, let's say I have too many plus players. So I might borrow a couple of co-stars to keep my price down so I can make the movie to try to generate revenue. However, they get any capital earned on the film, but I get the reputation, right? So that guest star will take capital. So you're going to want to employ, well, you'll see how it works. If you want to make money, you want to employ other people's bad persons so that it doesn't cost you any money, but you can earn reputation. Trying to win money, right? You don't want to spend money to win money, right? But let's say you have a lot of money and you want to have a higher reputation, you might sign up co-stars from another. You might borrow Humphrey Bogart from Warner Brothers for your movie, so you're gonna pay out that money to the other company, but you get all the reputation that film earns. So that's how that works. So you're gonna want to borrow poor players to try to earn money when you have too many good players that are expensive, and at the same time you're going to want to use good actors and actresses when you're trying to make landmark films for your reputation, because you want to build your rep, but you don't want to, but you have plenty of money, right? So it just allows this movie business to happen between studios. So remember, in this Big Country version, you're going to be running all the studios, all 5, like a football league. You're going to be running all 5 teams, all 10 teams, right? And at the end of the year, you're going to see which ones made the most money, which ones have the highest reputation, and which are award-winning players, right? Okay. So I think I'm explaining this fairly well. All right. So again, when you go to make a film, the first thing you do is pick your writer, and then you roll up the synopsis, you roll up the brand, and you roll up the genre. Those are going to give you bonuses towards your box office roll. You're going to assign your writers, your directors, your actors, or you can randomly assign them if you want to do it randomly for fun. But you will be free to assign your studio players. All right, so what is the parenthetical number? When you create your players, you roll to see how many films they're contracted with you. So this writer, Hank Tofield, he's a fantastic writer. He's a +2 to all films. However, I only have him under contract for 3 movies. So once I've used him in 3 movies, he automatically will go to another opening somewhere in the universe, and I have to create a new one, or I would have to get a free agent that has been dumped by somebody else that's out of contract. So I have a brilliant writer here, but he only has 3 films under his, before he's gone. So these are not year contracts; these are film contracts. So Clara Harlow, who's a brilliant actress, she's got a 9-film contract with me. So she has to make 9 movies for me before she can go to another studio or she becomes an independent. Okay. All right. Where am I at here? Studios need to maintain positive capital value, but want reputation value for the studio. So you need money to make movies. However, reputation is the game's high score. So the studio at the end of your career with the highest score in reputation would be the greatest filmmaking company in your history, right? So reputation is actually the most important if you're looking to see which studio's winning the game. Capital, though, you have to have capital to make movies. So once you're out of capital, you're bankrupt, you're out of the game, right? Or your studio's out of the game. Okay, when contracts expire, they automatically will go to a new studio and they get a new 2D6 film contract. So any opening anywhere else at the end of a actor's career, they automatically will shift to that company. But if there are no openings when that person finishes their film career, they become independent, so they go on to like a free agent file. Okay. All players will generate career points, so all actors, writers, directors will generate career points based on the reputation that a film makes, right? So if a film makes 3 reputation, that director involved with that film gets 3 points. And that at the end of your career, you can look to see who are the greatest directors in your history, right? The greatest actors and actresses, right? And then awards will be based on the points they earned during that year, okay? Awards won't generate anything else for them. It just means they're award winners. They win awards, okay? Here's also the fun part. So again, when you have vacancies, you just roll up new talent. So if you have a director whose films expire, he becomes an independent filmmaker, or he goes to another studio, you roll up a new director, completely new, and you rate him. Now, this is fun. So any writers, directors, and actors and actresses that are not under contract, they're free agents, they automatically can make independent films with no cost. However, all the other studios have to make a random roll to see which of those studios pick up the film to distribute it. And that film, they get all the reputation for that film, but all the capital on that film goes to the independent filmmakers, which you wouldn't track. In other words, if an independent group of writers, directors, actors, and actresses make a landmark film for my company, I would get the reputation for that, but the money would just be lost, right? And independent films are going to be made whether other companies want it or not, and they don't have a choice. You don't get to pick who gets to put out that independent film. So you roll randomly. I may not want to distribute this bad film. Let's say it's a group of bad actors, bad directors, and they make a crap film. Well, guess what? I roll randomly. It might be my studio that actually picks it up and distributes it. And I would be the one that suffers the bomb at the box office. However, I could also win an Oscar with a landmark film, and my reputation goes up because a lot of really good people make a brilliant film. I just don't get the money from that. Now, that's optional. You don't have to do independent films. If you have, let's say, a universe of 10 movie studios doing independent films with leftovers, so to speak, the people who aren't under contract, might be too much, but it would be fun once in a while to do. And they get to do 1 film a year, not 2. So independent writers, directors, actors, and actresses can do 1 film a year. So it's not too difficult to track. Okay. And of course, any capital they make goes toward their points, toward winning awards and things. So you could have independent directors win the Oscar screwing all the big companies, right? Okay. Then I have a D100 film title prefix. This is optional, and you'll see why this is optional because these were randomly created. I had AI just make up 100 prefix titles, and then I had it make 100 film titles. So some of these would work with the film titles. Some of them are going to be redundant, like the Silent, and then there might be a movie called The Silent Deep. So you wouldn't have The Silent Deep. You would have The Silent Deep. So you can do a prefix roll if you want to adjust the films, but then there are 100 random film titles that you can use. Die 100. And then more importantly, when you create all your fictional writers, directors, actors, and actresses, there's 1,000 names here, 20-something pages, 28 pages. And you just roll 3 die 10 for a percentile roll from 1 to 1,000. And that's who you've hired. So you're not going to roll up male and female names. You're just going to roll up a name. And if it's a female name, so be it. So here's an example. I'm going to roll up my first writer for my company. And I roll up 531. So this writer, 531, come down here to 531. And this writer's name is Aaliyah Leach. So I would have Aaliyah Leach. I would roll my D6 to see what her rating is. So my writer, one of my writers is a female writer, and she's a 2. She would be a -1. So she's not very good. So she's not a great film writer, but I have her under contract. Then I would roll 2d6. So I would have Aaliyah Leach as one of my writers under contract for 5 movies. 2 die 6 would be 5 films. And she is a -1 rating. So there's my first writer in my first company. And that's how that works. Now, of course, you can have your own name generators, your own film name generators, whatever you want to use. I personally don't like to mess around trying to constantly make up names and film names. I certainly don't want to make up movie names. I don't mind making up names of characters because I'm pretty comfortable. The problem is I end up with using a lot of the same names. So this is literally 1,000 completely randomly generated names. So I have no clue. Some of them are going to sound like they make sense. Some are going to sound really crazy, and that's fine. I don't care. It is Hollywood, right? This is my fictional big country Hollywood. Okay, so anyway, you've got plenty of names to go for. And again, if it's a male name, just make there a male actor or an actor. If it's a female name, it's a female actor, or vice versa. And that's it. And of course, all the names in the booklet are fictional, and any resemblance to real persons is coincidental and unintentional. So there's 1,000 random names. There's somebody out there named, Scarlett Bauer, maybe. So again, that's just the way it is. And that is an add-on, folks, for Dell's great little 3-page fun Hollywood game. You can play it as simple as it is, like I did this morning, or you can turn it into a film industry in the big country, or make your own, New York, or your own just 10 companies, whatever time and place you want. But anyway, I thought this would be fun to share. It so inspired me that I sat down to do this. At some point, I'll play this out in a video on the channel some morning with coffee, so you can see how I track who's winning that year, and how the actors are accruing points, etc. Right? So anyway, it's free if you're interested in Dell's. Now, Dell's game is, I think, $2. So that is what it is, whatever you guys want it. Whether you, this does not have the rules for the game in it. You're going to have to make some sense out of how those rules affect this big add-on. But again, I don't attempt to tell you exactly how to do this. But I thought I would share it because I'll be enjoying the hell out of Silver Screen. So I thought I would go ahead and share this with everybody and how I'm doing it. All right. Bye-bye.